Hey guys, how's it going? It's Rosie. Today I have a little spring TBR for you. I'm so excited because I've been wanting to make a book video, like about reading or books, just anything book related, for literally months. I tried filming a favorite books of 2022. It just did not work out for me. I hated the way it came out the first time, and then the second time I ran out of space on my SD card. So I was like, you know what? The universe doesn't want this right now, and I'm not gonna give it to her. This video I have also filmed already, and it has gotten corrupted 3 times, except now I'm deciding that it is going to happen. So I'm not giving up this time. Today I'm showing you some books and YouTube's gonna like it. Since this is my first book video, like ever, I wanna give a little background on, you know, where I'm at in my reading life, my reading journey, if you will. Obviously reading has become like freaking huge again, which is so funny because obviously it's never not been a popular hobby, but you know, TikTok really TikTokified it and made it popular again for young people. So I've been seeing a lot more about books that, you know, I otherwise would not have maybe heard of. So that's been exciting and good and has really helped me get back into the reading groove. Along with that, my mother's a librarian. She has been for like half my life. So I grew up in a library and I worked in a bookstore when I got to Denver for about 8 months. I don't work there anymore. It actually isn't even open. So that's unfortunate, but I made all of my friends here through that bookstore pretty much, except for like a select few. The bookstore culture really took over my life in the beginning of me living here in Colorado and has really just been very beneficial and honestly really good for me because reading is a great hobby to have, and especially when you work from home, or there was a period very recently where I didn't have a car for most of the time because my boyfriend was using it to get to work and back. So what can you do at home? Not very much if you're out of YouTube videos to watch. So reading has definitely been just like a fabulous tenet in my life, a pillar. And I'm very, very happy that it has come back full swing into what I do on the day-to-day basis. As I said, I've already filmed this video. And honestly, maybe it's for the best that that file got corrupted, because literally in the week in between when I filmed that video and when I'm filming this video, my TBR has already changed. So you know what, it's for the best. I get to show you some things you might not otherwise have seen, and I'm gonna roll with it. Without any further ado, here are some books I'm planning on reading in the next couple of months or so. I figured I'd start with what I'm reading right now. I'm about halfway through. It is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, and as you can tell, this bad boy looks a whole lot like an IKEA catalog. And that's kind of the whole point, is if you go through it, it is set up like you would see an IKEA catalog. That's where I am. And honestly, just even the format is so freaking cool. That's what drew me to it. And I'm very excited because it's a Grady Hendrix book. And so I know Grady Hendrix is an insanely popular author. He has been for a while. And I know a lot of people whose recommendations I personally normally enjoy love him. I so far have only tried to read one Grady Hendrix book, and it was The Final Girl Support Group, and it really wasn't for me. I got like decently far into it. I'd say like 50 to 100 pages, and the main character was just so grating, just annoying. And I just didn't give a shit about her. So I gave up on that, was not gonna force myself to get through it, but I know so many people love his books, so I really want to give him another chance, and I am glad I picked this one up. I'm actually borrowing it from my friend Mara. Hi, Mara. It is really cool so far. I guess I will read the little like flaps on the covers, just so you get a little idea. Horror Store. Something strange is happening at the Orsk Furniture Superstore in Cleveland, Ohio. Every morning, employees arrive to find broken Keurig bookshelves, shattered Glanz water goblets, and smashed Lirapip wardrobes. Sales are down, security cameras reveal nothing, and store managers are panicking. To unravel the mystery, 3 employees volunteer to work a 9-hour dusk till dawn shift. In the dead of the night, they'll patrol the empty showroom floor, investigate strange sights and sounds, and encounter horrors that defy the imagination. A traditional haunted house story in a thoroughly contemporary setting, Horror Store is designed to retain its luster and natural appearance for a lifetime of use. Pleasingly proportioned with generous French flaps and a soft cover binding, Horror Store delivers the psychological terror you need in the elegant package you deserve. So it is just, honestly, I'm a big fan of the design, of the format, and the book so far is pretty good too. It is a horror story set in like an IKEA knockoff. And they do talk about IKEA. IKEA exists in this universe, which is just funny to me. But I'm liking it a lot better so far than I liked the Final Girl support group, and I'm already further. I anticipate probably honestly finishing this tonight, so pretty soon I'll be moving on to one of my other reads. But yes, glad to have found a Grady Hendrix that's hitting right. Up next we have Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. The cover is just adorable, super cute. You might have seen this in my recent Target haul, my spring self-care Target haul, because it was on pretty good sale. I think I got it for like $10. And essentially, the back of this one is like super duper long, but I'll tell you, what I know about it is it's based on that Chris Evans interview with, it was him and just like a gorgeous reporter, and they had really good chemistry, and the author of this book saw that interview and was like, wow, what would happen if they met up again later? So it's essentially telling the story of like that interview. They don't see each other again, and so 10 years later they meet up again, they do another interview, and this is their story. I'm very excited to read this. It seems like a super cute like light read. I've been reading a lot of heavy like supernatural or like true crime dark thrillers recently. I've also been just like taking in a lot of true crime content, which I love, but also is, you know, it weighs down on you after a little bit. I'm more of a paranormal girly, but they're always paired together. So if I want one, I normally have to take the other as well. But I have noticed that I've been taking in a lot of that type of content, and I need something lighter. I need a breath. So I have heard about this one for a while. I saw this on super sale and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I think I'll give it a go. Up next, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I'll read you the little flap on this guy. Emery Blackwood's life changed forever the night her best friend was found dead and the love of her life, August Salt, was accused of murdering her. Years later, she is doing what her teenage self swore she never would, living a quiet existence on the misty, remote shores of Saoirse Island and running the family's business, Blackwood's tea shop, herbal tonics, and tea leaf readings. But when the island, rooted in folklore and magic, begins to show signs of strange happenings, Emery knows that something is coming. The morning she wakes to find that every single tree on Saoirse has turned color in a single night, August returns for the first time in 14 years and unearths the past that the town has tried desperately to forget. August knows he is not welcome on Saoirse, not after the night everything changed. As a fire raged on at the Salt family orchard, Lily Morgan was found dead in the dark woods, shaking the bedrock of their tight-knit community and branding August a murderer. When he returns to bury his mother's ashes, he must confront the people who turn their backs on him and face the one wound from his past that has never healed, Emery. But the town has more than one reason to want August gone, and the emergence of hidden promises and deep betrayals spanning generations threatens to reveal the truth behind Lily's mysterious death once and for all. Also, I have my own little book stamp, and I keep forgetting to use it. But last time I filmed this video, this book was included, and I remembered I had a book stamp, so I just wanted to show you because I think it's so pretty. I'm just like really in love with it, so I'm just happy with it. But anyways, back to the book. This book I actually picked up at a small bookshop in New Orleans when Ken and I went for our anniversary, and we were hanging out with some friends that day who were from the area. They showed us this bookshop, and I saw this book, and I was like, yes. Because I've seen so many people rave about this book. A lot of people were loving it, you know, in the fall time, in the spooky era. But I found it at the end of November, Thanksgiving weekend, and it just sort of fell to the bottom of the list as I got into like holiday reading. So I am excited to try this out and see, you know, what's going on. Cause, you know, I've had a lot of murder, mystery, paranormal stuff. Haven't had a lot of magic. Missing some magic in my reading life. Because I love a good dose of fantasy magic. That's what I kind of need right now, I think. So magic with some murder, I think that's okay. I think I can handle that. So I think this one will be a winner for me. We'll see though. Up next, another one that has been on my list for a while, The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I have wanted to read this book literally since I found out it was coming out. But I never saw it in my store, and then I also couldn't find it anywhere. And then I found it online on Pango Books, which is like a book reselling app. and it was cheap. It was like $9 and I went for it. So let me read you the little sleevey boy. While in college in New York, Shay Evans and her best friends met a captivating man who seduced them with a web of lies about the way the world works, bringing them under his thrall. By senior year, Shay and her friend Laurel were the only ones who managed to escape. Now, 8 years later, Shay's built a new life in a Tony, Texas suburb. But when she hears the horrifying news of Laurel's death, delivered of all ways by her favorite true crime podcast crusader, she begins to suspect that the past she thought is buried was very much still alive, and the predators more dangerous than ever. Recruiting the help of the podcast host, Shay goes back to the place she vowed never to return to in search of answers. As she follows the threads of her friend's life, she's pulled into a dark, seductive world where wealth and privilege shield brutal philosophies that feel all too familiar. When Shay's obsession with uncovering the truth becomes so consuming that she can no longer separate her desire for justice from darker desires newly reawakened, she must confront the depths of her own complicity and conditioning. But in a world built for men to rule it, both inside the cult and outside of it, is justice even possible? And if so, how far will Shay go to get it? I love the idea of putting a true crime podcast in the book, because true crime podcasts, I just had my book club, which was so fun, so exciting. It was such a good time. The book we read was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and now for our next book, we're pitching thrillers, and I'm gonna put this one in. But we were just talking about how insanely impactful true crime podcasts have been recently in like solving unsolved murders or closing cold cases. And this, if you're familiar at all with the Sarah Lawrence case, that shit's insane. It's literally in New York, and also it's about this, I'm gonna link a podcast down below because I've listened to 2 or 3 different people cover it, but essentially it's about this crazy ass man whose daughter goes to Sarah Lawrence. He moves himself into her dorm and somehow starts a little cult between like her and her dorm mates, and like it's absolutely insane. So a very wild story, and this is kind of what that brings to me. Plus a true crime podcast host sounds so cool. New York we love, a thriller we love, and the cover's beautiful. So I'm very excited to read this one, and I hope it wins for my book club. The next book I have is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I actually started this book, I only got like 20 pages into it, and then I realized my book club was coming up, so I had to read that book first because it was also a thickie. And so I put it down, but this one I really like the beginning of, so I will be getting back into it soon. From what I've heard about it, it's all like, it's magical. There's magic involved. It's in old-timey London, not London. It's in old-timey Britain, so on the Oxford campus, except like with added buildings. It's very much giving Ninth House vibes, where like there's an established setting that you may have been to before, but there are extra buildings, secret, you know, meanings for the buildings, secret places, which I love. And it includes a little map. That's the Tower of Babel that they reference. And of course, Babel is referring to the Tower of Babel from the Bible. Here is the map of the Oxford campus in this version of the book, I don't know, the world. But as you can see, the Tower of Babel is just there, like on the normal campus. And I've been to Oxford before, so I love that I like have the idea in my head of like what it looks like. Also, I'm trying to go to London in the fall with my boyfriend, and if so, I'm making him go back to Oxford because that place rocks. Just a really gorgeous campus. Anyways, tangent. But Babel is supposed to include like counter-revolutionaries, magic, translation, frickin' anti-colonialism, like honestly a lot of really cool things to put all together. So I will read you the little jacket. 1828. Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There, Robin trains for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. The tower and its students are the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power, as the arcane craft serves the Empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, he realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide. Can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? A very relevant message for, today's society. But I've heard it's just so beautifully written, and from the literal 20 pages I've read, it was pretty good. And I am very excited to read this. It is just so super thick that I keep pushing it off a little bit, but I just need to get into it. I just need to, get into it, yeah. Okay, we are on to my final 2 books of right now, because obviously this is not an all-encompassing TBR, but these are books I'm definitely planning on reading soon, and then hopefully I'll have time for a few more. Who knows? I'm definitely going to be getting at least one more book because of book of the month and, just how that works. But speaking of, these are my 2 books of the month from last month. So these actually took literally forever to come in. As soon as I finished filming this video last time, they came in to my mailbox like an hour later. So I'm glad I can include them this time because they're definitely pretty high on my priority list. Let's start with the actual book of the month, which is The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. This is a brand new release, very excited. She also wrote The Last Apothecary or The Lost Apothecary. One of those 2. Very popular book, I'm sure, because I've seen it literally everywhere. Oh yeah, The Lost Apothecary. Here we go. But it has spiritualism, it has seances, it has London, on a very big British kick this year, I think. And maybe, this is just me manifesting getting to be there again. So anyways, this one sounded really cool. I'm a big fan of the spiritualism movement and learning about it, and also discussing like female agency in the spiritualism movement, which is so cool. It's sad because a big theory around why it was so popular, seances, mediums, and them mostly being women around this time, is because the only way women had a voice was if they were channeling a dead man's, and that's how they got people to listen to them, because that's very classic patriarchy, misogyny, whatever. But I think it's really cool to think back about these women taking very, spiritual practices that people weren't so sure about, but like still wanted to believe in, because, faith doesn't mean you see it. Faith just means you believe it. And using it to give themselves agency in a world that did not want to give it to them. So this sounded cool. Let me read you the little flap. Amid the shrouded parlors of Victorian London, 2 daring women hunt for the truth and justice in the perilous art of conjuring the dead. 1873. At an abandoned chateau on the outskirts of Paris, a dark seance is about to take place, led by acclaimed spiritualist Vaudeline Delaire. Known worldwide for her talent in conjuring the spirits of murder victims to ascertain the identities of the people who killed them, she is highly sought after by widows and investigators alike. Lena Wicks has come to Paris to find the answers about her sister's death, but to do so, she must embrace the unknown and overcome her own logic-driven bias against the occult. When Vaudeline is beckoned to England to solve a high-profile murder, Lena accompanies her as an understudy. But as the women team up with the powerful men of London's exclusive seance society to solve the mystery, they begin to suspect that they are not merely out to solve a crime, but perhaps entangled in one themselves. I love that blurred line between, what is real, what is made up, the whole realm that spiritualism lives in. I'm very excited, glad I chose this one. It was kind of honestly the only one I was interested in based on first glance for this month, but now Book of the Month does like a podcast with their authors, and I've seen a few clips from some of the other ones, and now that I'm watching the clips, I'm like, oh, I kind of want a couple of the others. But we'll get to that later. And then we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This book, well, it was the book of the year for 2022 on, I'm sure, like Goodreads, definitely book of the month. I have heard nothing but great things. This is some of my friends' favorite book, and I remember literally seeing this come into the bookstore being like, I should get that, and then just never getting around to it and regretting it. So I'm glad I picked it up now because it's still available on Book of the Month. And the cover's gorgeous, obviously. I know it's about video games and best friends and is like insanely touching. So let's read the flap. In this exhilarating novel by the best-selling author of The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry, two friends, often in love but never lovers, come together as creative partners in the world of video game design, where success brings fame, joy, tragedy, duplicity, and ultimately a kind of immortality. On a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Massour exits a subway car and sees, amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform, Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment, she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns and a game begins. A legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich, but these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect. To be loved and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before. Once again, I've heard nothing but beautiful things about this book, so I'm very excited to finally sit down and read it. Those are all of the books that I currently have lined up on my TBR, ready to get read. I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to hear what you are planning on reading this spring. Please leave a comment down below and let me know. Or if you have a favorite book that you've read recently, I also really want to know because I'm always looking for a new book. Let me know if you like this kind of video. I love talking about books. So I will be talking about books more, but if there's a certain kind of style of book video you want to see, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out. This is one of my spring break videos, so I will be linking that playlist down below if you haven't seen the others yet. I'd love it if you stick around, subscribe for more, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.